All right, I've been, kind of dying to start a podcast for a long time. I've like attempted it multiple times, but never really followed through with it. So this is going to be a rough podcast, if you will. I'm going to be working out a lot of the kinks in this one. So yeah, let's get started. A couple reasons why I want to start this podcast. It feels like a very low effort way, and a low effort way to kind of achieve what I want. I want to document for future generations. I feel like there's very few interviews with my grandparents, so potentially this could be nice for my kids and my grandkids and so on. Also, like, since I kind of have a media business that makes content, like if I ever wanted to produce content for other people, for clients, I think, there's short form content, there's long form, like YouTube videos that are like anywhere from 3 minutes to 30 minutes. And then there's like podcasts. So in order to hone in on my podcast system, I feel like the best way to do that would just be to get experience doing it. And I'm filming it because I want to put it on YouTube, and it's not that much more effort to film it. That way you can put it on YouTube and podcasting services. So yeah, that kind of covers why I want to do it, what this podcast is going to be like. And I'm using ChatGPT to kind of organize my thoughts. I told it everything that I want to cover, and then it helps me organize it. So I've been loving ChatGPT. The only thing is, I don't know how ethical these platforms are. Like, they could totally, they're getting access to my brain and they could figure something out from this, which is a little unsettling, but it's so useful. I feel like I have to do it. What's this podcast going to be like? It's not like really like super niched. It's going to be, it's kind of like Joe Rogan and Casey Neistat if they were to combine. Joe Rogan likes to talk about things that interest him. Casey Neistat likes to tell stories just about random stuff. So I would like to kind of keep it open. Who knows where it could evolve to, but it's probably going to be a mix of my life. So ideas, business, family, content, adventures, stuff like that. And, partly it's going to be, a way for me to document stuff. So a lot of it just might be about me. And I guess, part of me wants to, I want to inspire people to, take on their personal projects, things that don't feel like urgent to do, but I think they are important. Like for me, this podcast feeds my soul from a creative standpoint. So I kind of want to be an example for others and showcase that, like, hey, I've been actually making and producing videos for like 6 years now. And, I'm still nowhere close to where I thought I would be. I thought I was going to be rich and famous by now, and that's not the case, but I still do it. And I hopefully can inspire someone to, do what feeds their soul instead of just doing it for the money. I find that as I get older, I find that like money plays a smaller role in things that I want to do, which is very refreshing. But at the same time, I do want to be able to provide for my family like a very high quality of life. So, that is a motivating factor, but it's not just a motivating factor. Something I've recently learned is like we've kind of dabbled in kind of sponsored content or working with brands on Moriahs platforms. And it kind of takes a little bit of the fun out of it because you kind of got to do what they ask. You got to review the contracts. Generally, it's a negotiation. So they're asking for things and then you have to kind of counter. Like, something that I'm struggling with is like, I don't really want to let brands use Moriah's likeness indefinitely. Like, I don't know if that's like standard practice, but it just doesn't seem right for them to be able to advertise their products in 5 years using Moriah's likeness. Because what if she's like a huge name and they only paid a few $100s for that? Like, that's not fair. I think there should definitely be royalties. And, I'm learning all this as I go from reading contracts. Like, I didn't even know what using likeness in perpetuity meant till I researched it. So it's just made me want to kind of think about, you kind of have a boss if you're making content for brands. Like I really like how some influencers do it where they create a product and then they sell their own product. So, they don't really have somebody on over them telling them what they need. It's just hard. I don't know what to sell. Like, do you sell a physical product like a hairbrush? And then you have to almost set up a whole nother side of the business, which is very time consuming. And it's just me. So I really need to stay focused, because if there's no content being made, then there's no advertising basically. And if there's no advertising, then what's the point of having a product? So it's really tricky for me, but I do think having a product to sell to the audience is the best case scenario, because then we're not like at the mercy of a boss. All right, now we are on to section number 3. This is life lately. Personal catch up. So Mariah's pregnant. She is 30 weeks. And for those of you that don't know, I think you deliver around 40 weeks or 39 weeks actually. So we're getting pretty close, and it's been a phenomenal pregnancy. I cannot believe that it's already like we're already where we are, because you kind of get focused on each section that you're in. So like you got your first trimester, second trimester, third trimester, and then within each of those trimesters, there's, little things like the baby grows to a different size. It starts to hear certain things. It starts to kick more. Your belly gets bigger. You can't, you got to change your sleeping. You got to, go to the bathroom more frequently. It's been very, very fun. I've enjoyed it. I've tried to focus on the fact that this will be our only pregnancy without a child. So, the next one could be better, but it might just be different in a different way. So, been enjoying that. Mariah's been staying very active, which I think is super important and probably a big part of the reason why her pregnancy has been so good. She does probably about an hour of exercise per day, and that consists of probably 30 minutes of cardio, 30 to 45 minutes of cardio, and then about 15 minutes of lifting typically. And that's probably 6 days a week on average. And we've been eating super healthy. So that's been great. For the first probably half of the pregnancy, we were getting 9 hours of sleep, and that was like a necessity. Now we've kind of toned it back to 8 hours, and that's working pretty well. And let's see, what else is there? The first trimester, the morning sickness was not bad. Occasionally there will be just like some emotional times, like a bit of overwhelm or just intense feelings. And generally we can kind of move past those pretty quickly, just because I think I do a good job of listening. I don't try to fix it quite as much as I used to. I'm just there and realize all right, this isn't something I have to prepare for the rest of my life. This is just a moment in time. There doesn't really need to be a system for this forever. I don't know if that makes sense, but I just try to love her, take care of her, make her feel special, really prioritize her. So that's the update on Mariah. Recently, we went on a road trip to the Florida Keys. We stayed in Marathon, Florida. This is our second year doing it. We meet Mariah's sisters and mom in the Keys. We spend 2 or 3 nights, I think 3 nights on the way down. We go from Atlanta down 75, kind of past Tampa. We camped 3 nights on the way down, just kind of relax and transition into family vacation. And then we spend 4 nights down there, and then we spent 2 nights on the way home. We came up 95 and then went up to Jacksonville, hit the beach in Miami, and then a little further up, found a cool campground, which every time I go on a trip, I'm kind of picturing doing recon for when I have kids. And I just want to know where to take them, where the cool places are, what's near the campground, all that kind of stuff. So I feel like my whole life leading up to kids has been preparing to be an awesome dad. And I have so many places that I want to take them. I know they're going to love these places. Okay. So now I guess I could talk a little bit about business. It's taken me a long time to set up an LLC. I finally did it. I've got a CPA. I think, these are a great foundation for the future. As soon as I get the LLC formed, I've only filed it. Then I'll get the EIN number, a bank account, and I can, just make it a little more official, which I think will help me be successful. Let's see. So other things that are going on in my life right now, it's just really trying to figure out how to balance managing a house, a home, a business, staying healthy, diet, exercise, kind of structuring all that without getting burned out. And, now that I'm a full-time business person, which it feels, kind of a little premature to say that, but I'm no longer doing hair. I'm really focused on this production company, which focuses on Mariah's brand, my brand. Potentially later, once I can scale a little bit, maybe hire an editor, I could take on clients, which would be cool. But yeah, just right now, it's hard to find structure yet flexibility to manage the reoccurring things in life, but leave a little bit of room for things that aren't necessarily reoccurring all the time. And then obviously preparing for fatherhood is a big thing. We've started a couple books, we took a couple birthing classes, and as a guy, I am just not interested in becoming an expert on birth. Like, I think I want to be prepared, but I want to look at it like an adventure, like it's a new thing. I'm going to be as prepared as possible, but I'm not about to focus the next 3 months on learning everything about a natural birth. It's just exhausting. You start to see all the things that could go wrong, and I'm not into it. I want to read 2 books, one about pregnancy and then one raising a kid. And then I want to figure it all out. I don't need to have every single luxury item for a kid when it comes. To me, it's kind of like going on an adventure. You just go and you have the essentials. And then as you realize what you want and need and what you can afford and what you have space for, that's when you start to add stuff to your kit. So get the baby here, then we can start decking our place out with stuff. Obviously we need some things like a car seat, stroller, a little baby holder, some bottles, diapers, stuff like that. But then it's with Amazon, I can get everything I need within 2 days. So I don't feel like I have to have everything under the sun, which is nice. So that wraps up my life lately. I wonder what I sound like. I wonder if I sound intense or angry. I'm really trying to get this done because I have other stuff to do, but I do enjoy doing this, and I don't really plan on editing it much, maybe a little. All right, so 4th section of the podcast, reflecting on this season of life. I'm in my mid-30s. I'm 35 years old. I'm healthy. My partner's healthy. My parents are healthy. They are in this cool stage of life where their parents have all passed away, so they don't have to empty out any homes, work out any wills, care for their parents. They get to, kind of get to, be on their own again. And they're very busy taking care of stuff, but it's they get to choose whether they work on their own projects or help with other things with other people. And it's great for me because, my parents are 70-ish. So at some point, it'll be my turn or my generation's turn to take care of them. And that I saw them do it with their generation above them, and they, it looks exhausting and it looks very, very time consuming. So I really want to enjoy this phase of life where there's no crisis, there's no kids, our business, there's not a lot of momentum, but it's also very small. So I don't have that much complexity to it. Life does feel challenging, but I have a feeling I'm going to look back and be those are some great times. No kids, not a lot of financial stress, not a lot of business stress. Very exciting, very hopeful for the future. So, right now I just want to remember that and be grateful, not get too caught up on things that I want, because life is good. And I find that if I focus on the good, I'm happier. Alrighty, next section, honest business reflections. So I've been making content for about 6 years. I think I did about 3 years on my personal brand, and I made very little progress in terms of building an audience. I did learn a lot of technical stuff about filmmaking, audio, video editing, stuff like that, but not a lot of like concrete reward in terms of like money or views. And then about 2 years ago, we switched and started making Moriah's brand. We've had some good success with that. I'm not interested in pivoting too much. Like I really want to just hone in on what's wise for us to focus on. I think the quality is there. And I think, TikTok, she's got about 17,000 followers. YouTube, she's got 31,000 followers. She has a nice audience and people really enjoy watching her. As like the creative director of the channel, I do feel a little lost sometimes. Like I want to try a lot of different things to see what will work. But then, sometimes it feels like it's a side tangent. And I feel like if I just knew exactly the direction I was supposed to be going, I would get there a lot faster. Yeah. And, since I'm basically, it's a two-man team. It's me and Moriah. Moriah is the face, but she's also working as a stylist 32 hours a week, and she's making a baby. So it's kind of hard to like expect her to work more. And so, it feels like I have to do a lot of the like I am the ball, the majority of the ball, and to make it roll, it's pretty heavy, and it's rolling, but it's not like rolling without me pushing it, if that makes sense. And as soon as I stop pushing it, like if I go on vacation or I take a break or I try something new, the ball slows down, and it's a lot of effort to speed the ball up. So it's really challenging to always be pushing the ball. Like I just think it would be really fun if the ball was moving on its own and then I could just like push it a little bit more sometimes when it's, when I'm excited. Obviously, this is probably very common for all business owners, and I'm committed, but I'm excited for the day when there's a little bit of a team around me. I can assign some things. The ball is still moving. I can pop in, do some more, work on new things that I haven't been able to focus on, like a product or something. But, the business is exhausting and exciting, but, it's a lot of work, and a lot of times I'm never hopeless, but, the delusional confidence is fading a little bit. It's more so just turning into confidence, but not like delusional confidence. Like I'm not getting rich tomorrow, but I am going to treat every next video that I make like that is the one that could change my life. But I know that there will always be another video after, and I'm just going to have to keep going. So, yep, there's my first podcast. I hope someone listened to this. I really get a lot out of the comments. So if you did make it here, I would love to hear any feedback or any support. Anything you want to say, I'd love to hear about it. It does fire me up and keep me going. I don't get much of it, but I really appreciate what I get. I'm just, I'm trying to figure all this out as I go. And I'm going to try to do this regularly, eventually once a week. Hopefully it won't take me too long to do. I think it should only take like an hour or two. And, if I do this 6 months, that's like 26 episodes. And I'm sure my process will get a lot better. And then I could offer it as a service maybe to somebody. So thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. I'll make another video soon. Peace.